Now that's really interesting, and this is probably gonna get cut out because it's a really weird question and it
It's all
wasn't
good.
what I sent you.
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, have you ever got like a patient who says something was talking to me and you came to the conclusion that it wasn't themselves talking to them, or you were ever like, "Oh, that's weird," and then just
Yeah.
walked away, which is what I would do.
So a lot of my evaluations are based on that. So what I do mostly, just to give a little background, I do competency to stand trial. So if someone were to commit a crime and mental illness had something to do with it, or in the course of the trial, they didn't know what was going on because their illness was stopping them from understanding or working with the lawyer, they would call me to see if that's the case. So sometimes I get people who are malingerers, meaning people who lie for secondary gain. If you're a person facing 10 years in jail, I would lie and say, oh, yeah, a voice told me to do it, and then go to a hospital instead of general population where you have a single cell, you get more treatment, you get more groups and things like that. It's more cush compared to being a general population. So I would do that too. So there's times when I'm evaluating someone and they're saying, oh, I'm hearing voices. Oh, tell me about them. And I just keep open-ended questions. You hear them every day. I could tell you how Maya sounds every day. I could tell you specifics. I could tell you, oh, she sounds like this type of person. Here's her voice quality. This is the content. I could tell you that if I heard it every single day. Sometimes people lie, and you can tell when they're lying, and you can tell when they're not. And this is based on experience. The liars will basically say, oh, yeah, I'm hearing them telling that there's aliens in the sky and yada, yada, yada. And they're able to distinguish the voices and just lead, oh, yeah, I'm hearing voices. But someone who's truly psychotic or schizophrenic, first of all, would be distrustful of you. Who are you for me to open up to you fully? So they might try to hide it. They might try to show and put on a good face. And then in the middle of the interview, they might like look around, or they might not hear what you're saying. You have to repeat the question. Because someone who's truly schizophrenic, it's like someone whispering in your ear right now while you're trying to have a conversation with me. You can try your best to listen, but you might miss a couple words here or there, sentences. So you can tell those things with the interaction, their body language, how they respond, stuff like that. There's some good actors because we are in California, but there's some ways and there's some questions you can ask to kind of get around that too. So it's all based on experience, and it's operator dependent. So every psychiatrist is different in how they elicit who's lying and who's not.
For the truly schizophrenic people, what is the voice that's talking to them?
So it varies, but a voice that's usually talking to them, sometimes it could be dependent on mood. So if someone's really sad or really manic or really anxious, the voice kind of corresponds with that, and that usually speaks to the severity of the mood. When I say mood, like depression, bipolar disorder, stuff like that. So if you have voices that correspond with those mood changes, that means it's more severe versions of that mood disorder. So sometimes it could be that family member who's always harped on you, like mom or dad or a cousin, or someone said, you're ugly, you're not going to make it, things like that. And it's more mood congruent. So if you're sad, it's the voice matching it is sad and kind of piling on. Then it could be that. Sometimes it could be a truly unknown voice. With those, it's kind of different because when people or patients say unknown voice, a lot of times it's a voice they do know, but it might just be buried deep down and they don't know who it is. It might be a voice they heard on a commercial or something. There's no such thing as like an unknown voice. But a lot of times it could be a family member or someone who could be close to them or someone who has done them wrong in the past.
Man, that is really interesting. Because in other cultures, these schizophrenic people might become shamans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So with that actually goes into a whole nother topic, personality disorders. So a lot of people, and I don't know if you want me to go into this. That's fine.
Go.
Okay. So personality disorders are basically impairments in any functioning of your life. When I say any functioning, social, occupational, interpersonal, between other people, with strangers, with family, financial, legal, constantly getting arrested. And it's something that's egocentric, meaning beneficial to your ego. So you see nothing wrong with yourself in order to change. So I'm going to keep being me, essentially, because why? It got me this far. I'm not going to change. And it's basically a pattern of beliefs, thoughts, and behaviors that are persistent and usually start in early adolescence and is diagnosed around mid to mid-adolescence to like early adulthood. So probably around your teens to early 20s. So you have to have this set criteria of, there's 10 different personality disorders present at that time. The reason it's that time is that's usually the time your personality develops, usually around mid-adolescence. So an example of a personality disorder is schizotypal personality disorder. So what you're describing as a shaman, a lot of times schizotypal individuals kind of fulfill that criteria. Schizotypal means you kind of have odd, eccentric beliefs, odd behaviors. So like people who feel that they can read minds or telepathic, or I had a patient who was schizotypal who lived in a commune in Malibu and felt that he or she, because I'm not going to diverge who it was, he or she could communicate with other people in the commune.
Could
Could.
they?
Yeah. She felt that they could.
Did other people say that she could?
Other people in the commune said that they could. And she had this fervent belief. And I didn't want to challenge it because when she was in the hospital, or he was in the hospital, it was for like other things. So it wasn't something I needed to challenge at that time because she came in inpatient. So I just was interested and wanted to know more about it. But yeah, they had that belief in the commune and she still had it outside of the commune. So I thought that was pretty interesting. But it's basically odd, eccentric behavior. You have a specific communication style that kind of gets lost with others. So like when I'm trying to like communicate like these weird, odd behaviors to other people who don't believe it, they're like, oh, you're weird. And like you're kind of shunned by people. So what we see in our society as schizotypal are like fortune tellers, shamans, those type of individuals. People with schizotypal personality disorder actually have the highest risk of developing schizophrenia later on in life. So that's the one personality disorder that can lead to the development of schizophrenia organically.
You know, with that lady who thought she could communicate, I would test her.
Yeah.
I would just see, I would see if she could send the signal. Like,
Yeah.
what card am I holding up? I would see out of 10.
Yeah.
Does she know?
And some people try that. Some people try them. And when that happens, it could be met with resistance. It could be met with anger when it's not right. Or, it's like, oh, you're not a believer anyway. That's why it didn't work. So it could be met with denial, excuses, things like that. And they'll just keep along their way. It's not really going to change them. All it's going to make them feel is reinforce like, oh, this is just the world who hates me. They don't believe in me. And let's keep it moving. So.
Yeah, I'd have to see, because if everyone else is saying it,
Yeah.
who am I to say no?
Exactly.
And like what you said too.
Yeah.
You said, who am I to challenge this belief?
Yeah. Unless it's something that's potentially damaging to one of those realms that we talked about, interpersonal, legal, getting arrested for your beliefs, all that stuff. Then I would challenge it in that situation. Like, do you know your thinking, your way of life is kind of interfering you legally. You have felonies. You have all this stuff. Like, you're in jail right now. What can we do to kind of help through this stage? That's when I would address it, when it became that way. Otherwise, be you. Be who you want to be. As long as you're not hurting anybody, you're hurting yourself.
Now, that's true. A lot of people go to psychics. A lot of people go to fortune tellers. Yeah. And here, it might be a little odd, but in Romania, perfectly normal.
Yeah.
So
it's based on society.
What
we do here is probably weird to them over there. Some things we say are the standard or, whatever. So it is based on society, what we deem normal and what we deem odd. And I even tell my students with schizotypal, like, things that used to be odd back in the days are now normal. Women wearing brightly colored hair in professional settings, they used to be odd. The way we dress used to be odd. So it morphs with society. So, as doctors, we got to be aware of that and know and like kind of move with the changes in society. Otherwise, we're misdiagnosing people. And we've been seeing that sometimes, saying people are schizophrenic when in actuality, they're not delusional, specifically in the Black community. And I know that's a whole nother topic.
If you can sum it up, or if you can come back at some point.
Yeah.
Okay, then we'll address that, because I want to know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Just basically when I say delusional, delusions are fixed false beliefs that even when presented with evidence against that belief, you still believe it. So what used to be viewed as a delusion in the Black community is like police are out to get us, trying to harm us, trying to kill us. And like I have to have like a PTSD like presentation. I have to be always on my toes, hyper vigilant. I'm avoiding the police. I'm running every time I see them. This happens in my community. And then mostly white psychiatrists are evaluating these people and saying, oh, they're delusional, or they're really impulsive, and they're really fearful of entities that are just there to help them. So they're schizophrenic. Let's put them on an antipsychotic. Let's hospitalize them, because schizophrenia is overdiagnosed, especially in black males, instead of bipolar disorder, instead of anxiety disorder, instead of ADHD, instead of PTSD. So we're jumping right to the big diagnosis and then the stigma that comes with it, and it's a whole trickle-down effect. So it's something that I try to educate my students about. Cultural sensitivity and just knowing the societies that you're working with is equally as important as knowing the diagnoses and the criteria of each diagnosis. So you have to do your homework.
You have to do your homework.
Yeah.
If there's a psychiatrist listening, just play that part back.
You have to.
Contact Dr. Donald, because you don't want to mess up. That seems like a pretty big mistake.
Yeah, huge. And the psychiatrists are basing it off their own culture or their limited experiences with that culture that they're evaluating.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I try my best. I have shortcomings too. I'm not perfect, but I recognize that I need to get better with that too. But everyone does.
Yo, if you were going to go to Cambodia and start working as a psychiatrist in Cambodia, you would take the time to live there for a little bit and see what's going on.
Exactly.
Before you start diagnosing people.
Exactly. 100%.
Something perfectly normal, to them might be schizotypal to you.
Yeah, exactly.
So that is really interesting.